Hello, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. I'm wearing my summer camp sweater. So, for those of you who went to that, attended that, this is in honor of that since the planning extravaganza tickets went on sale today. Um, I kind of feel like it's going to be a bit like summer camp, and that one, it's virtual, but two, it's going to be so much fun. I have been trying to decide how to do the live drawings. So there's this really fun, you may have seen this before. It's actually what Justin has been using to pick the daily winners each day. It's like this fun wheel. So you put the names in and then it just spins digitally. And so I could do that. That would be fun. But there's also this really cool raffle drum that I have found on Amazon. And by the way, if you're not a fan of Amazon, I'm sorry. We all have our own vices. We can't all save the world all the time, and that is one of my vices. But it looks so much fun, and I'm like, how much fun would it be fun, like to put the names in it and then like do a live drawing where I just pull it out? So I don't know. I'm thinking about buying it, Laura. I'm thinking about buying it. We're gonna have a big time. There's lots of prizes that we're gonna have this year. We have 10 partners who have already contributed. There are more in the works. So it's going to be a party. It's absolutely going to be a party. But we are not yet at the planning extravaganza. It is the Get It Done challenge. So here is the good news. In addition to the work that you've been doing, there is with the drum. Oh, well, but it's not a real drum, right? Like the raffle drums are like bingo, kind of like that. So, but I mean, I don't know. It might make some noise. There will definitely be music and dance parties. You know me, Laura. I cannot have an event, virtual or in person, without music or dancing, even if it's just me dancing, but you always join me, and I appreciate that. Yes, bingo. I don't know if there will be bingo. Well, there definitely will, because I've got it jam packed. I know with virtual events, like they just get more tired. So we're gonna keep it moving. So there won't be time for bingo, but maybe I can find a way to incorporate that. I love bingo. So I say that like I don't play it, but when I do, it's a lot of fun. All right, Get It Done challenge. I was like, what are we talking about? Day 3. It's all about delegating and asking for help. But here was what I was wanting to say. And I know Sean and Laura are both on here. This is the day historically when people really drop off. And which is sad, right? Because they're not going through the rest of the process. But for those of you trying to win prizes, whether it is a daily prize or continuing into the grand prize, your odds increase greatly. So just giving you that heads up. Laura, I already saw yours come in. Sean, I don't know if you've responded yet to the Instagram posts. If so, I've not seen it. Although I loved that Laura said that she was going to have to figure out in her piles which has to be done. And I was like, Laura, you should have, like, that was the pile. You should already have a has to get done pile. So you might have been telling on yourself that you hadn't quite sorted it. But today is all about delegating and asking for help. Okay, you've not done it yet, Sean. Here's my question. And I should go ahead and announce that Angie Zimmer was yesterday's winner. So Angie won. That was in the email, but I want to put it out on this as well. But Angie had posted in the Instagram. And so Angie, if you come back or if you join in at any time, I am curious because Angie had made the comment that everything on her has to get done list was delegated to her and there's no one else to delegate it to down the line. And so I was curious, was that just work related? Was everything on her has to get done list work related? So I know she's not here, but I'm going to go ahead and actually give some tips and tricks on that in case she or anyone else comes and watches the replay on how to deal with that when you've been delegated all the work, or you simply can't think of who else to hand it off to. When, yeah, you're like, no one is going to teach me how to load the dishwasher either. I mean, look, this is just life. This is what happens when we, you all have kids and spouses and all the things, trying to get them to do things a certain way. Like we know that it's not possible, but it doesn't stop us. It was easier for me to throw my husband under the bus than for me to identify something that I do, or I'm trying to get him to do it a certain way, right? It's always easier to point the finger at someone else. And he's not listening, so he can't he can't complain. He doesn't know that this is happening. Okay, so Sean, you ran into the same issue as Angie. Okay, so let's talk about when all of the work has been delegated to you. If on your list you have everything that has to get done and it seems totally doable, then that's fine. You can make that your priority. You can get it done. And then you can move to your, it would be nice to get it done pile, and see if there's things that you can delegate there. That would give you the opportunity to get more things done that you would like, but wouldn't be able to otherwise because you're so focused on your work. And then you still get to experience the relief or the satisfaction or the excitement of having that thing done, but you didn't have to do it. Now, on the other hand, if your has to get done pile is completely overwhelming, you're worried about how you're going to get it all done, it doesn't leave you any time, space, or energy to focus on non-work related things that are also important to you, then if you are, I'm assuming if it was delegated to you, right, that you're an employee, you have a boss, you have someone you're working under, I would encourage you, even if it's uncomfortable, to go have a conversation with whoever is giving out the work to say, as I'm looking at all of this and as I am planning for all of this, it seems like it's actually more than I can get done. And so I'm curious if we can go over some of these projects or some of these tasks and see if some can't actually be pushed to the new year. And if they can't, whether there's a way to redistribute the work. Now, there are always, right, I don't know any given person's situation. There are clearly certain jobs, certain bosses that are not understanding. They could care less if they're going to work you into the ground, in which case you might start to consider whether or not that's the lifestyle that you want to have and whether or not that's a place where you want to work. But for the most part, I think it's actually fair to give a manager or whoever is giving you work a heads up that it feels overwhelming, because I would like to believe that most of them are actually willing to work with you on that, because in many times, like they're going to expect you to come back. They're not going to manage that workload for you. So they're going to need you to come back. And if you know the bigger picture and you can go ahead and prioritize the projects as to what you think are most important and the ones that might need to be moved away, then, I mean, I know when I was managing, I always appreciated when people were proactive and trying to think things through and not just bring me a problem, but bring me a solution or a thought process. And so even though they may have given you a deadline or said something had to get done, that may or may not be true, especially if they know that you're so overwhelmed that the work may be shoddy, right? Just like regardless of how amazing any person is, if you have more work on your plate than you can get done, you have to cut corners. There's really no way around that, right? Like that's just what we do. We get up on the deadline and we just make things happen, but it's never as good as it would have been had we had the time, the energy, and the resources. And it may also open up the conversation of whether someone else needs to be hired, whether it's time to add another person to the team. And maybe they're trying to hire, but haven't filled that spot yet, but giving them that heads up, because if they ever get concerned that you're overloaded and you're going to leave, they start to take things a little bit more seriously. So I suspect many of you may have experienced this before, even if it's not an overwhelming issue right now in the Get It Done Challenge. Okay, let me see what y'all are saying. Sean, self-delegation, my goodness. Well, the good news about self-delegation is you can always undelegate. Go delegate it to somewhere else. Oh, that's a great idea, Laura. Is there someone who can do it at 70% as good? If so, go delegate it. That's a great idea. Yeah, whether it would be the end of the world if someone wouldn't do it exactly as you would. I mean, I just think that as perfectionists and high achievers, like it is always going to be something that we deal with. And I mean, I am a self-confessed control freak, and you know, many of you may be as well. But really learning what's going to move the needle forward and what doesn't really matter in the scheme of things really can help. And not to go back to promoting the planning extravaganza, but Adrienne Dorison, some of you may remember her. She did, we called it the after party that year, but it was basically the planning extravaganza. That particular year we had guest speakers, and she came in and she spoke the book Run Like Clockwork that Mike Michalowicz wrote. She and Mike run the business Run Like Clockwork, which is all about systems and delegating, and how if you're wanting to scale a business, if you're wanting to grow a business, if everything has to go through you and you're the bottleneck, like it's impossible. And so she's one of the people who has generously, graciously agreed to offer a prize. And she's doing a one-on-one session on which would be about delegating and systems and being the bottleneck. So it's definitely not my area of expertise. And it is an area where I'm always really stretching and growing because I struggle with delegating things when I have a very specific vision of how I want something done. But I have learned over the years that when I try to put it all on my plate, that I then become overwhelmed and resentful and bitter and can't get it all done. But it's my own doing, right? Like I created the situation. And so even though I have the vision, if I'm going to kill myself in the process to achieve the vision, well, was the vision really worth it to begin with? And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. And having gone through the tumor, I mean, it has drastically changed the way that I look at things, because things that I thought were important before, like truly, I just have a new perspective. I'm like, that is not even important. So sometimes, even though like when we go through, you know, Sean, I know you've had a health crisis as well. Sometimes when we go through a crisis like that, it can feel really frustrating and like a burden, but you actually get a lot of blessings and lessons out of it as well. And that has certainly shifted my perspective, hopefully forever. Hopefully I don't bring back some of those perfectionist tendencies. So if it's not work, all right, so if we're talking about like you've got things on your plate where it was delegated to you through self-delegation, Sean, or someone else, but let's say it's committee work, or it's board work, it is community work, it's family work. Tomorrow's going to help. But just know that at any given time, anyone, me, you, the people you have delegated it to, can renegotiate that contract, because in many ways it is a contract. It's not a written contract, but it's a verbal agreement, right? That you are going to take something on. And so when we say, well, it's been delegated to me, sometimes it's not like an actual work delegation. It's a nonprofit, it's a volunteer delegation. And we feel like because we have already committed to it, because we've already said yes, or because it was delegated to us and we feel like it's our responsibility, we feel guilty. We don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to let them down. And so we just, take it as in like, well, I have to do it. When sometimes we can renegotiate that. And it may not feel good to renegotiate that, but if it lightens your load and allows you to focus on what matters most, then someone else can pick up the slack and run with it for you. We're all doers in this group. People, right? Like I know a lot of you and just the people who sign up for the Get It Done Challenge, we are doers. And a lot of times we do a whole lot more than those around us. We've all been on committees. We've all been on boards, even in our work, right? Like, I don't know how many times, in the law firm, when a group of us were assigned to do something and only one or two of us were doing it, like we were handling the load for everyone. And so renegotiating that, saying someone else is going to have to do it, or it's simply not going to get done. I mean, it can feel bad if it's not going to get done because someone else isn't going to, pick up the weight, but that's not your problem and it's not your burden. And we don't like that. We would prefer to just be able to do it all. But unfortunately, we're human. we're human and we're not built that way. And if we try to, we're going to get overextended and it's not good for our mental health or our physical health. Laura, she's delegating 7 Post-its. Do it. How many Post-its do you have, Laura, by the way? I loved seeing your whole Post-it design that was going on. Okay, I see we just have a few on here today, but if any of you have any questions for me about delegating or asking for help or anything else related to the brain dump, the sorting, anything at all that we've been working on this week, let me know. Now is the time to ask your questions. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all keep thinking. And if you don't have questions and you've been typing, you can also say you don't have questions. It'll let me know. Yeah, you're having trouble delegating. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. But here's the thing, as we do this work, so as I had mentioned, well, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet or not. So the thing is, I recorded all of the videos in one day, and then I produced half of them. And then I just produced tomorrow and Friday today. So it's like top of my mind, but I'm like, when did I say that? I don't know if I've actually said that yet or not. So, surprise if I haven't said it yet. I'm going to do a bonus episode next Tuesday that's going to help you map out things even more. And sometimes the lessons we learn here, like when we're trying to do it like in a silo or in a very specific way, kind of like some people who said they were having like a bit of a brain freeze, it doesn't always work. But as you start to put things in motion, just try to keep these concepts in mind as you go forward, because as you see things aren't possible, then you're kind of forced to start to actually do some of the reprioritizing. What can actually get done? Who can I delegate this to? Where can I ask for help? Where can I hire things, help? Where can I, because sometimes like it might just be a project where it's going to take you, let's say 20 to 30 hours to figure something out, but you could hire an expert or a coach or a consultant or a course or, right? So sometimes it's not even just hiring a person to do it, but like they can just make it go way faster for you. Sometimes that is an option, or, getting feedback from a friend where you're not even having to pay. But anything that can help shortcut something, that can help you save time. Oh, that's so interesting, When that you can delegate work-related matters far easier than personal ones. Okay. Okay. Over 35. That's not bad, Laura. And you're going to delegate 7? That's amazing. Um, yeah. Here's the thing. If you enjoy doing something and you really want to do it, then maybe that gets in the it has to get done. And it has to get done because it brings me joy and I love it and I refuse to give it up. That can be a has to be done. All of your has to get done's, it doesn't have to be because someone else tells you it has to get done. Like, you know, you you get to ultimately decide. You're in charge of these piles. You ultimately get to decide what has to get done. And sometimes when we put the judgment on it of, oh, well, that's selfish or that's not a good reason, then we can end up putting our stuff in the it can wait or it doesn't have to get done. But if it brings you joy, if you love doing it and it's important to your well-being and happiness and satisfaction, put that in the has to get done pile. Yeah, because maybe wrapping the presents and then matching and picking those things out is like a creative outlet for you that you love. And it's not about perfectionism or traditions, it's about joy. So that is absolutely something that could be has to get done for you if it's that important. Um, Kimberly. Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, okay, wait, let me read this again. Let me make sure I understand. So you're saying you don't feel it's justified to delegate. So are you saying that if it's a must do, you must do it? I may be misunderstanding that. Sally, this is why I have more than 3 categories. I love it. Sally's like, I'm having my subcategories. Thank you very much. um, oh yeah. The run like clockwork stuff is really good. Well, when you also think about, so what's really interesting, especially for all of us, right? Um, when you think of companies where they're true startups and there's like funding and there's these huge teams, they already start from that perspective. Whereas if you are a service provider, a consultant, a coach, or it's really just you, like you're a solopreneur, it's very different because you don't start out with that whole team and you don't start out with the thought process of, who's doing what. We do it all. That's why on day 2 of the planning extravaganza for the business bundle, one of the things that we're going to be doing is called wearing the different hats, where we're literally going to go through the different key roles that a business should have. And you're probably filling all those roles, but we're going to like work through certain things so that you are thinking through it just from that perspective, just with that hat on. So that you're not just doing it from what you personally think, because that may not be the best for your business. When you're at deep cleaning hacks for a spotless home, let that go. We're not interested. We're not interested in a spotless home. Oh, got it, Kimberly. Yeah, you were saying it was more important than it really was. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's always a processing thing. And so there's never a right or wrong. I always try to take a mindful approach to most everything, which is to just get curious, to just kind of witness it and be like, oh, isn't that interesting that I did that? And then always being in the space of learning something new about yourself. So it's never about getting the sorting process perfect, but just kind of witnessing where we put more on our plates than needs to be, as well as why we prioritize certain things over others. And oftentimes it's because of certain like beliefs or values related to different things, right? Like we just prioritize things differently, and it's different for each person, but some stories can come up related to that stuff. Okay. Have I covered everything? I think I have. You can let me know if there's anything else. Y'all have been doing great work. Great work, ladies. Also, since we're just hanging out here, I was thinking for next year, because I'll probably do this in the spring as well. You know, I love a get it done challenge because a lot of times it's also just, it's just a fun way to give back. But I was thinking for the spring cleaning one, so now that we're talking about deep cleaning win, that I might do it all on Facebook Live. So like maybe I would do it at like, I don't know, 10 a.m. Central Time. And then as opposed to having two different ones, like I can kind of do like the podcast, but do it live. And then people can ask, if they're able to attend, can ask questions there. And then I can help people then. So I'm curious what you all think of that. Just something to test. I literally have a cat who is about to knock over a Christmas tree. And you all cannot see it. But if it happens, you're definitely going to hear it. It might come flying into view. Oh, look at you. Sharing an Instagram reel all by yourself without your daughter's help. If anything, you're learning how to use Instagram. I love Instagram, so I'm glad you're learning how to do it. And you did it without your tech department. Progress, ladies, progress. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap this up if there are no more questions. Again, as usual, as I mentioned on the previous days, if there are questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. Even if you are watching this on the replay, I do get notices when you add more stuff. And so I'm happy to come in and answer your questions then. So keep up the good work. Get those entries in. If you've not commented on the Instagram post today, telling me what you delegated, make sure that you do so that you can stay in the running for the daily prize. And if you've been doing the daily prizes, and a lot of you have, then you'll stay in the running for the grand prize. Okay, that's it. See y'all tomorrow.